He does his own slates, guys.
I always wanted to do that.
You've never done that?
No,
You got to call Dick Wolf. I feel like Law & Order SVU. I'm Nayeema Raza. This is Smart Girl Dumb Questions, and that is New York City Mayor Eric Adams. He's running for re-election in a local race that has captured the broader zeitgeist, kind of like a Coldplay jumbotron. These candidates have big personalities, divergent worldviews, and reputations that precede them. So as a New Yorker, I wanted to do a Wait, Who's Running for Mayor series, where I go beyond the headlines and the memes and what we think we know to understand the people in play. Today, I'll talk to Eric Adams, and in future episodes, I'll have on other candidates too. I'll ask them the questions we all want to know, pointedly and directly. Like I asked Mayor Adams, what is up with the whole Turkish Airlines thing? Is that still his favorite way to fly? If New Yorkers should trust him when it comes to Donald Trump. Why the city is so expensive, and why it feels less safe than the stats would tell us. Does he have a plan to fix that? Does he have a plan to fix dating in New York City too? Finally, we get into the dynamics of this race, and you'll find out if Eric Adams would rather be trapped in an elevator with Zohran Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, or Curtis Sliwa. Here's my conversation with Mayor Eric Adams, taped on Thursday, July 24th. Smart Girl, Dumb Questions. Thank you, Mayor Adams, for doing this.
great to be here.
You have called your job the second most important job.
Mm-hmm.
What's number one?
Being the president of the United States.
And then you think it's New York City, not vice president, not Secretary of State.
And actually, there are moments, I believe, for the individual person, being mayor is more challenging than being president.
Say more.
Presidents are in a cocoon. They're surrounded by Secret Service. Their day is actually laid out. It's predictable. And a lot goes into because of the security purposes. Mm-hmm. But mayors are on the ground. And people see you, they touch you, they feel you, particularly if you are a mayor like me. Having the name of a nightlife mayor, having the name of a mayor that's always hanging out with people in parks and what have you. I'm so visible, and I live being mayor. Mm-hmm. I'm not just going through the motion. I'm not in this bubble at City Hall. I opened Gracie Mansion up to all of these different ethnic groups and cultural groups. And so being there all the time, and New York it's a different place. I tell people all the time, New Yorkers have 5 fingers. They love the middle one the most.
Yeah, I would say it's hard to be in a cocoon in New York City.
Yes,
New Yorkers do not want to cocoon their mayor.
No.
You brought up, being out all the time. You and I were both at Casa Cipriani this last Friday night.
I didn't see you.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh,
I didn't want to interrupt you. I should have.
Right.
So talk about being nightlife mayor.
Right.
You seem to take pride in this title. I think people level it as some kind of
negative.
He's busy. We need a daytime mayor. What's the nightlife mayor?
And that's what people miss. Mm-hmm. What I learned from policing, I did overnights as a police officer. I did 11 at night until like 8 in the morning.
Oof.
Right, for several years. And what I learned is that New York is not a 9 to 5 city. There's a whole body of people who they do day hours. Mm-hmm. They do these afternoons until 12 o'clock. And then this new group of people come. They sleep during the day. They're nocturnal. And they're out overnight. Mm-hmm. And what has happened, mayors have never witnessed them. And so as this nightlife mayor, when I came into office, our nightlife industry was decimated. COVID,
yeah.
And people don't realize when you see that fancy Casa Cipriani, you're missing the fact that the cooks, the dishwashers, the waiters, the people who clean up after hours. And I knew I had to say.
But you weren't in the kitchen. You were.
No. I actually go in the kitchen. When you go to these major establishments and you ask them, has the mayor been in here? And what happened when he comes in? He stops in the kitchen.
Actually, the staff did tell me that you chat to them.
Yeah, I talked to them, and I knew I had to revitalize our nightlife, $30 billion industry. If I didn't get that industry back up and operated, working class people would have suffered. And so, I took hits for it because people thought it was, okay, he just wanted to hang out and, do X, Y, and Z. No, it was part of my overall plan of I got to revitalize my nightlife. I have to revitalize my business industry. I had to revitalize my 4 to 12s, as we call them.
Okay.
The whole city.
And now the city is
humming.
But you're still going because it's also fun.
Oh,
it's also fun.
You're me. People want to see you. They want to see you out.
Are you a member of any of these clubs?
No. I have so many people that are members of different clubs. Okay. You come in as their guests. These are too expensive for me on my salary. Remember, I'm a civil servant.
Yeah. But every interview I hear with you starts with the story of really your first interaction with the cops and your teens
Yes.
being arrested. But also, you were born in Brownsville. For people who don't know New York, that's one of the poorest parts of New York. You grew up in Jamaica, Queens, single mother, right?
Yes, off Jamaica, Queens.
Yeah.
Yes, and
largely.
it broke my heart. I thought I was Jamaican because I grew up in Jamaica, Queens. And I
You did
learned-
not think you were Jamaican.
Yes, I did. They say, you're not Jamaican, Eric.
Different accent than Queens. Different accent.
People often looked at, and I'm glad you asked that question, because people look at, okay, you're the mayor, second mayor of color, first person of color to be borough president, state senator, captain. That's my glory. And people don't realize sometimes, they look at you, you're a big-time podcaster. That's
Big
your
time.
glory. Take the moment and dig into our stories. My story is growing up and walking in the classroom and seeing dumb student wrote on the back of my chair and praying to God that I didn't have to read because of my undiagnosed dyslexia. And the students would mimic me throughout the day. Let's act like we Eric Reed and stumbling over words. My story is my negative encounter with police officers, living on the verge of homelessness. That's my story.
So just being in these fancy places and these fancy rooms, and I'm not judging you for it. I'm in them too. I'm a big time podcaster, as you said. I don't know about that. But does it change you? Like, does it make you part of the elite, or are you part of the group chat?
I think just the opposite. It is so important that you'd be surprised how people believe that they're not deserving of certain things. And what I hope happens at the end of my tenure of being the mayor of the city, that people will look at me and say, wait a minute, God made this perfectly imperfect person. I'm perfectly imperfect. And so the young person who's growing up dyslexic or with a learning disability, they say, wait a minute, the mayor had a learning disability. The young person on Rikers Island who feel that they hit the end of the road, it's just a bend in the road, he just has to make the turn. I got rebaptized on Rikers Island. I went and sat next to the inmates and said, we're going to get rebaptized together. And so I want them to say, wait a minute, my mayor got arrested. My mayor lived on the verge of homelessness, lived in a domestic violence situation.
A lot of New Yorkers feel this city has become unaffordable, has become untenable, who see the ceilings you're talking about.
Right.
They don't think they're going to make it. They came here to make it. They don't think they're going to make it. All of these candidates, by virtue of becoming mayor, becoming governor, being able to run for this office, how should New Yorkers, working class New Yorkers, connect to these people? And do you feel like you are the mayor of all of the people or of the people who own the buildings?
Okay, and that's a great question because both matters. I want the person who drives the limousine to be able to afford to be in the city, and a person who sits in the back of the limousine to understand their contribution. There's a financial ecosystem that we all need each other. If we don't have each other, we can't make it. If I don't have that billionaire to use their discretionary dollars to pay for nonprofits like the Robin Hood Foundation, to put into our museums or do other projects. You look at the head of J.P. Morgan Chase, he and his wife, they have an amazing internship program.
Jamie Dimon.
Yeah. So if you disconnect of my discretionary dollars that are in the city and say, no, we don't need you here, people don't understand an economic ecosystem. We are connected. But I think what's important, because this is a great question you're asking, you're saying that people don't think they can make it here. That is untrue. Every day I'm hearing the stories of people. I came in with $1 in my pocket and was a dishwasher. Now I own a chain of restaurants.
Right.
I came here as a person that didn't understand English. Now I'm running schools that teach English.
How much do you think a person needs to make it in New York? I know with the poverty line is something like $22,000 for a single person in New York. It's something like $45K, I think, for a family of four. Well, what do you think people need to make it in New York and to make it in Manhattan?
I'm loving these questions.
Thank you.
I have friends who are making $500,000 a year and say, I don't have enough. I have friends who make $1 million a year and say, wow, I'm struggling. So really, what we must do as government and what we have done, and the story has never been told what we've done in the city. When I go to town halls, when I do podcasts, speak to others, even my son and I sat down and had dinner. Actually, it was breakfast, and I was sharing what we were doing. He said, Dad, I didn't know that. I hear that all the time.
Right.
People don't know that we put $30 billion back in the pockets of New Yorkers. We paying off medical debt.
Yeah, you forgave medical debt for something like tens of thousands
But not
of New
only
Yorkers.
that, do you know low-income people in this city, because of what I did with X the tax, they're paying no income tax anymore.
You have an opponent who's running against you on the subject of affordability. By the way, I really do want to we're going to get to this conversation to all of those policies.
I'm low maintenance.
Are you low maintenance?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to ask your team. Kate, is he low maintenance?
I'm so easy, you know that?
No, but I want to ask you about these things and why you think people don't know. But before we get there, you have a candidate who's running against you, Zohran Mamdani, who's running on affordability.
Right.
He's running on some idea of redistribution, which you're talking about, the billionaires, the limo drivers, the guy in the back. How do you look at that? Do you think that or actually, let me ask it this way. You did not run on the Democratic primary.
Yes.
If you had, and your supporters who would put you as vote ranked choice 1, who do you think they would put as rank 2?
Good question, because the party was so far left of me. You know, my mindset, I'm a pro-public safety, pro-business, pro-family person. And you can't, I don't check boxes. Like, I don't check, here's the box of what, the left arm of the party believe is a good Democrat. Here's the box at the far right of the party believe. I just don't fall into that. My life experience doesn't allow me just to embrace, here's a list of rules. And that's what makes it difficult. It was difficult.
But you're out there talking to voters. You know your base, right? So do you think your base, if they had to choose between the other two options, I know you're not going to drop out of this, you said, but if they did, which way does it go, or how does it split up?
I think there's a little piece of my base in many of the candidates, but not a lot. Same when I ran. When I ran in 2021, look at the talent that I was running against. And it was a different feeling. Maya Wiley was more left of me. Ray McGuire was just as moderate as I was. Sean Donovan was moderate as well. And so my base, is hard to really define. That's been a challenge of people. People want to put me in a box. And I can't be put in a box.
You don't have a sense of how it shakes out, like 80% would go this way,
I wouldn't have a clue where would my number 2 and number 3 will go. Some people would probably just bullet vote. They would probably say, listen, we want to rock with Eric. We know Eric. We know how he is. We're not going to go down the line and go with others like people did before when I ran.
I usually ask my guests a fuck, marry, kill question. Are you familiar with that game?
No, tell me.
I'm not going to make you play that game, but I'll do a more PG version.
No, don't do no PG. I don't want PG.
You don't want PG?
No.
Well, I don't think you want to marry or kill or any of your candidates. So let me ask you this.
I love that.
We're going to do tap, trade, and toss. Okay. It's Cuomo, Mamdani, or Sliwa. Who of your opponents would you tap to be part of your advisory, part of your administration in some future administration? Who would you trade to another city? You got to send them to Chicago. And who would you toss out of the race entirely?
Good Lord. I'm not going to be able to tap. I'm going to tell you that right now. I would definitely send Mamdani to Chicago. I would send Cuomo needs to just get out of the race altogether. And I darn sure won't tap Curtis. I would have to find maybe one of the cats in his house. I'll tap, but
Who's a different kind of cat.
Right.
Who would you rather be stuck in an elevator with of the three of them?
Probably Mamdani. We had dinner together. We had a good conversation.
Really? When did you have dinner?
I met him in Albany while he was in Assembly, and I was always interested in what Africa was like under Idi Amin. And how Idi Amin purged many of the Indians who were there. And it always fascinated me when I read the stories growing up, and there was a movie about Idi Amin.
I remember
and when I learned that he was from Uganda, and who his dad was, I said, I would love to have dinner with you and your dad, and just,
Did Zohran bring his dad to dinner?
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
His dad came. He came. We had a great conversation. You could disagree without being disagreeable. Okay. We just philosophically disagree.
Yeah.
I think his policies are hurtful. I think they're not fully flushed out, and they don't understand the ramification. But I'm not saying that I dislike a person. Yeah. I get along with people. I like people. And I know we don't have to all agree. I don't agree with myself all the time. So how am I going to agree with someone else all the time?
You don't agree with past you mean?
Right.
this moment. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. See, would you have a drink with Mamdani again?
Definitely.
Or sit down for dinner with him? I don't know if you
It
would.
will surprise you the types of people I sit in the room with. There's a guy named Hawk Newson.
Okay.
He is from Black Lives Matter. He thinks he is. Hates me. He wakes up every morning and says, how can I make Eric's life miserable? And I enjoy talking to him.
Yeah.
You know?
What would you ask Mamdani if you were to sit down with him?
I would love for him. I would pick apart his policies.
Okay,
And
so what don't you like about his policies?
It's not like, because on paper they sound good.
Okay.
But growing up in South Jamaica, Queens, I remember clearly how people would come around and campaign with mom and they would promise things and they would never get them. People knew they were lying to us, and we would still wake up the next day and say, I would say, Mommy, didn't they say that we were all of a sudden not to eat this hard cheese anymore? You know? And so what his policies that he's doing, he's promising things he know he can't deliver.
Can you be specific?
Yeah, the free buses.
Okay.
Which is one of his top priorities. It costs $3 billion. And he's saying that I'm going to get the $3 billion by raising taxes on our top 1% earners in the city. Mayors don't raise taxes. Assemblymen raise taxes. He's an assemblyman. And the governor already said, I'm not signing off on that.
Yes.
So why are you running around keep saying you're going to get free buses when you know you can't?
So you're not opposed to free buses. You're opposed to the promise of free buses when the hurdles to deliver them would be the state legislature and the...
And mayors can't do that. And let's go even one step further. No, I'm not opposed to free buses. When he presented that to me at Gracie Mansion, I said, wow, that's a good idea. I'll support that and do a pilot in Albany.
People are getting stuck in this idea of, obviously Mamdani runs as a democratic socialist.
Yes.
Do you think he's a socialist?
Based on what he is, expounding, based on what he's saying, that's his belief. And it is not up to me to say you're wrong for your belief. I hate when people tell me I'm wrong for my belief.
Yeah.
That belief is not good for me, and it's not good for the city. As you stated, that many people feel they can't make it here.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it here by people saying, hey, let me just give you something. They're going to make it here the way your parents, my parents did. Grit. Hardworking. If someone would have just given me something, I would still be sitting there in school believing that, hey, I'm dyslexic, so I could never go any further. No. And I collect stories of New Yorkers. And I am blown away at the resiliency of New Yorkers.
It's funny to me because socialism gets thrown out a lot, but a lot of these policies, Bloomberg, who I would not call a socialist. Would you call him a socialist?
No, I would not.
A former mayor of Bloomberg. He wanted free crosstown buses. He campaigned on that in 2009. He did this grocery store fresh subsidy program that I think still runs today. He did increase taxes on the wealthy at least a couple of times.
Yes, he did.
So I just always find that funny when that term gets lobbed around. And some of the things you did forgiving medical debt.
Yes.
Axing taxes for the lowest income earners in New York City.
Giving people... Subsidizing those who need help, we should always do that.
Okay.
But you should always maintain that pathway. When I've been to Venezuela. I've been to Cuba. They still give out those ration books, and you walk into the grocery stores and you're missing, hey, we ran out for milk this week, and you're out of luck. So the goal is we never should take away the desire to move up.
The capitalist instinct.
Exactly. Because that's who we are. Don't apologize. We don't have to apologize for our way of life. This is we need to be compassionate capitalists. When you look at what affluent New Yorkers are doing for this city, the boards that they're on, the volunteer that they do, the foundations that they're part of. So it's, we want to demonize. It's nice to demonize someone who earns $10 million a year. It's not to demonize them, but without them, remove them from the equation. Take them out. Let's say all of a sudden.
Some of them have left. Some of them are going to Miami. Some of them are
fleeing.
Some of them are Connecticut, New Jersey, Florida.
And so I don't want to divide our city. I don't want to say to billionaires, we don't want you here. Because I know why we need them here. The money we make just on stock transfer taxes and bonuses, that actually impacts our budget.
You're famous for saying, New York City is the Zagreb of America, the
That's right.
Istanbul of America,
That's right.
the Islamabad of America.
New York City is the Athens of America. It's the Istanbul of America. It's the Kyiv of America.
Do you ever think New York City could literally be the Havana of America or the Pyongyang of America?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, because of the people.
The
not
socialism?
Because no, the people. When I say New York City of America, I'm saying the people, because in New York, we have the largest populations of people. We have the largest population of Dominicans outside of DR. We have probably the second largest population of Chinese. We have the largest population of Haitians.
Yeah.
So when I say that, I take the capital of those cities and say we're the largest here.
Yeah.
That's what's great about this city.
But you don't think it's going to become Havana, Cuba, or Pyongyang, but because of the people, right? It could never become a socialist.
Yeah, but
right?
here's the problem. The candidates break down into three groups.
Okay, tell me how you see it.
Three of them don't have a record. One of them is running from their record. That's Andrew. I'm the only vote in the record. That's why you can actually criticize and critique me. And so what my concern is, we've come too far to go back. And when you look at some of these policies, they are going to take us back. You can't open Rikers Island and let out the inmates. So we have 7,400 inmates. You know how hard it is to get on Rikers Island because of bail reform that Andrew passed? And so now we're saying, let's let them out. You know where they're going? They're going back to the communities that they preyed on. That's unfair to those communities.
It's funny. I think there is something about experience.
Yes.
You're talking about experience.
Yes.
Experience has been lauded as an asset. But these days in American politics, it feels like experience hurts you. People are like, I don't want more of the same thing.
Right.
I'll look at Trump. People are like, I don't want the same incremental policy.
Right.
I want some new person that isn't from the system. Do you feel like that hurts you, your experience?
Well, here's what hurts me and has hurt me.
Yeah.
Our story has never been told. And so it's difficult for average New Yorkers to say, I don't want more of this. But they don't even know what my this is. They don't know I paid off medical debt. If you walk down the street with the mic, you know how people check people on the street and say, hey, has the mayor paid off low-income medical debt? No. Has the mayor did universal child care for everyone to ask for and no one's able to do? No. Has the mayor built more housing in year 1, year 2, and year 3 than de Blasio and Bloomberg? They said no. People don't know my story.
Why don't they know it?
Well, I had a hostile media. You just go do an analysis.
Part of that media.
Here's a project to do. No, my podcasters, this long form conversation has been a home run for me. I did 200 and something podcasts when I ran for mayor the first time.
I don't feel so special. Okay. Yeah.
But if you were to do an exercise, a classroom exercise,
He's giving me homework.
I say I'm gonna flip through the paper for the last. Don't even do for 3 years, just a year. I'm gonna flip through the paper and see how this mayor has been covered. Did we talk about any of the good stuff that he has done, or did we find a negative tint on whatever was done? Yeah. I knew something was wrong on Dr. King's Day when I was at Madison Square Garden, and they announced that I was there, and they gave me a standing ovation. And there was one drunk heckler that said, F you, Eric Adams. That became the headline of the story. And I said right then to my team, I went back, I said, this is going to be a rough 4 years.
Well, what do you always say? New Yorkers have 5 fingers, but their favorite one
is the middle one. And first of all, our media, our reporters, not the media. Let me be honest. Our reporters are lefties.
But there's also there is a bit. I mean, the media is not a monolith. Right?
No,
media,
without a doubt.
There's a huge amount of information. People are getting their information from all kinds of places these days. They're going direct. I mean, TikTok, et cetera. Look at that.
Right.
I mean, you're doing it now in your campaign. So.
And we just started. We're gonna amp up. But when City Hall has City Hall reporters, see, that's a lot of people don't understand. I'm not talking about my editorial boards who have real level head, deep thinkers, and really go into the project. I'm talking about the people who are covering me. They're lefties. So they get happy whenever, if I don't do something that they like about bike lanes, they enjoy. We're gonna rip them apart. Okay. So what you did, you're doing more pre-K seats in the history of it. Yeah, we're gonna find one parent who's upset.
Don't you think they do that? Don't you think that? I mean, that's kind of the job of
I love
journalists. Like,
that.
you know, I used to work
I'm
at the New
glad
York
you asked
Times,
that.
New York Magazine. I feel like that our job is to report what's news,
I love
what's
that.
new. What do you think?
I'm loving that you asked that
think?
question.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is a job.
There's not one mayor or elected official that say the media is unfair. That's it. But what I thought, and that was my biggest mistakes, I said, okay, they're going to hit me when I do something wrong. That's the nature of the beast. But you know what? When I settled 98% of my union contracts with 98% ratification levels, when I build more housing than mayors in 20 years, when I pay off college tuition for foster care children, high-speed broadband for NYC resident, when I do all this stuff, they're going to at least have an article that, hey, the mayor just did X.
I think they have those articles, but no one clicks on them.
Nah, they don't have them.
No, they don't have them. They don't have them. Well, we're going to talk about all your policies because I want to get to that. I think, last question, Mamdani, I want to talk about the campaign, then get onto this. But how do you make sense of the energy around Mamdani right now? What do you think that energy is? What does it reveal to you as a candidate? Do you learn anything from it?
He was never a candidate. He was a social media influencer. He wasn't a candidate. When I ran and won in 2021, at my victory speech, I said social media does not win an election. People on social security win elections. That was flipped upside down. He did an amazing job of this time that we're in. People don't read full body. They read headlines.
But he goes out, he meets with communities, he's doing the thing. I mean, isn't that what campaiigning is? And social media is just part of it. It's generational
But everybody
shift.
went out and meet with people. What made his name seem to be almost omnipresent? It was a well-run social media influence campaign.
And now you're trying to do that? Are you trying to do that?
Here's what I'm trying. Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to utilize that mechanism that my experts are now assisting me with to get my story out.
Okay.
All I have to do is get my story out. All people need to know, hey, this is a mayor that can't be defined by the lawfare he experienced. Can't be defined by the narrative of saying he's anti-immigrant. You know what's the most interesting part of this campaign?
Tell me.
All that I am has been hijacked. When you talk about a working class mayor, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I was born with a wooden spoon and no food was on it. When you talk about a mayor that produced for working class people, that's what I have done. So social media has successfully turned upside down who I was. And that's what happened in 2021 also. In 2021, people would label me as pro-police reform. When all this police reform, that's what I cut my teeth on. But there was a whole narrative that Eric doesn't want to do anything about police reform. Eric is
that you were anti-police reform. Sorry, that's
anti-police reform.
They were putting you up as you were.
That was the whole narrative. And I would go to debates and I would say, wait a minute, what are we talking about here?
So you think that you feel misunderstood, Mayor?
I don't know if misunderstood is the right term.
Misrepresented.
Yes, I like that better.
You feel misrepresented.
And so the beauty of campaigning is that you are allowed to use your resources to tell your story. Because remember, when I ran in 2021, I was losing to Andrew Yang by 13 points. He was walking around
Andrew Yang. I forgot about Andrew Yang.
He was walking around with a tape measure, measuring the drapes. He said, when I'm mayor. I was losing to Andrew Yang by black men.
Wow. And he was in the bodegas.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I remember
they were
that
saying,
campaign.
Eric, we love you, but Andrew Yang is giving us $1,000 a month free. We don't love you that much. And so I had to get out and sell to them, here's why what he was selling was bogus, and here's what I want to do. I'm going to cut unemployment. And we did by 30%.
I want to ask you about this narrative you think has been hijacked. I'm going to give you a chance to respond. But before we do that, very quick questions on one of the other people. So former Governor Andrew Cuomo, he lost the Democratic primaries, running as an independent. You said he called you and asked you to come to an agreement to come out of the race.
We both articulated our desires for He wanted me out, I wanted him out. And we shared that.
And you guys had a phone call? Who called who?
Yeah, I think I texted him, and then I called him and said, listen, Andrew, what are you doing? You lost by double digits.
This was after his video came out that he was rerunning? Or?
No, this was before that.
Okay.
Before that. Mm-hmm.
And you were saying, okay, so you texted him.
You need to bounce, you know? You just lost. You spent $25 million. People heard your message, and they decided that they didn't want to go for it. And then he never wanted to be mayor. You have to campaign to be mayor. You know, you can't come out and go to a black church on Sunday and, you know, go eat fried chicken somewhere and all of a sudden act like you're campaigning. I mean, he took New Yorkers for granted, and it was unfortunate.
What did he say to you when you, what was the end of that call? What were the last 5 words of that phone call?
Listen, I feel like he feel like he can win. Everybody feels they can win. All 9 of the candidates that won in the primary felt that they could win. Duh. You know, but the fact that you lost, you know, that's the fact. He lost.
Is that the last conversation you've had with him?
We probably exchange, you know, texts, you know, from time to time. He complained about something I say. I complain about something he states. And I didn't want to go back and forth with Andrew. I said, listen, you're in the race. I'm going to run my race. But when you start saying that failed leadership, when you start saying that the city is out of control, I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? You know, failed leadership is having 15,000 of our parents die in a nursing home. Failed leadership is spend $60 million on defending yourself for your lawsuit. I could go down a list of failed leadership, you know, from not for closing psychiatric beds, and now we have people walking in our streets, et cetera.
Are you getting I mean, obviously you've had these phone calls with the former governor, but are you getting pressure from donors directly to
stay in the race? Yeah. Donors are telling me, and not only donors, I'm walking down the block and people are saying, Eric, don't you go anywhere. Stay in the race. Don't you go anywhere.
You think that's going to change closer to the fall as like if it's still this 3-way race and people are, you know, especially in these rooms like Casa Cipriani, where we're both last Friday night, there's a fear in some parts of New York around.
The fear is real, but my fear is based on policies. I fear his policies, Andrew's, and I fear Mamdani's policies. But let me say this, because this is an important question that you're asking. That remember, 9-10% of voters voted. 90% have yet to speak.
The primary turnout was incredible. It was close to the mayoral general turnout in 2021.
Because people slept on this election. 9 months ago, when I was telling people, Mamdani's going to win the primary, people were telling me, Eric, what are you talking about?
Yeah, you called that. Okay, let me ask you a question. Let's move away from the race for a second. Yeah. Just as a New Yorker, I have this like dumb question of, you know, this city, I love New York. Yeah. I've lived in a lot of cities, of London, wherever, but I love New York. I feel like such talented people all over the world working hard.
That's right.
Paying too much in rent to be here. And yet we are stepping over rats. We have trash in our streets. Things are expensive. Like the city does smell like weed, although you are shutting down some of these illegal cannabis shops. Is this just a trade New Yorkers have to accept? I mean, for so long, I feel we walk around and we're just like, well, this is New York.
Nah, I don't buy that. And if we're honest in our analysis, because you have to use indicators to determine how well a city is moving, and it must be done based on an independent source. So, rat complaints are down. People told me I couldn't containerize garbage. It's impossible in New York to put garbage in containers and bins. 75% of our garbage are now in bins, and we're going to reach 100%. They told me it's going to take me 5 years. I did it in 3.5 years.
I walk by so many piles of trash bags. You're saying I'm just seeing 25%.
People are now getting acclimated to the law to make sure it's done correctly. These
bins got to be bigger. These bins have to be like the size of
We've done another project. The first order of business you had to do is have New Yorkers wrap their heads around. We are now putting our garbage in bins. When I go to South America, Central America, Greece, you don't see garbage in plastic bags. They said plastic bags? What are you talking about? And so our parks are cleaner. You're seeing more PEP workers and more park employees of what we're doing.
You've been in this job for a few years now. Why is it so hard to change this stuff? I feel like it just feels like this is like I know you're saying things have changed,
right?
But you know, we walk out of New York City right now, it's not going to smell like roses. Actually, we're on 28th Street, the flower street. It might smell like roses. But, you know, probably it's not going to smell like that. Why is it so? What is the thing that is in the way of mayors
I
doing
love
the
that.
job?
I love that.
Is it
Well,
Albany? Is it what?
well,
Is
but
it
first,
bureaucracy? What is
there's
it?
bureaucracy is one, but at the same time, we first have to acknowledge where we were.
Mhm.
And the way you determine how cities are doing is do a comparative analysis. Go look at LA. Go look at San Francisco. Go look at Oakland. Over our weekends, 4th of July weekend, we had 4th of July day, we had one shooting. Chicago had 50 something. So when you do an analysis of the complexities of running big cities with different languages and different cultures, you have to do a comparative and say, okay, let's see how well these cities are running, are moving. And we're moving in the right direction. Record break decreases in crime.
Yeah.
Broadway had the best 12 months on history. More jobs. We broke the record for jobs 11 times.
Yeah.
1 out of 5 of the small businesses started under this administration. So think about this for a moment, because this is so important, what you're asking. Okay, why didn't we snap our finger and we get to change for a moment? Because you know what? I came in office, all my businesses were closed, and we had this thing called COVID.
Yes, I remember
Nobody was coming
that.
back into their office.
Yeah.
I had to manage us through that. And then as we managed us through that, out of nowhere, I got 237,000 migrants and asylum seekers that came to our city. That cost me $7 billion. And so I had to take money out of my budget that could have hired hundreds of more sanitation employees, that could have handled more rat cleanup, So all of that money that we would have normally used to put into services, we had to take, because the federal government wouldn't give us the money that they should have given us to pay for these things.
Here's a question. If you're married to New York, because I feel like New York's kind of like your wife.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. She's a jealous mistress.
She's jealous mistress. How is your relationship going right now? Do you say it's complicated? It's happily ever after? You need some therapy? What's the situation?
With my
New
marriage,
York, with your marriage with New York, with New Yorkers.
Listen, I understand in any
with your 8.3 million wives.
That's right. 8.3 million shorties. You know?
Exactly. What's the marriage like?
Look, I know that relationships are ups and downs. I know that relationship they go through good days, they go through bad days, they go through joyous moments. There's moments when you want to choke each other, and there are moments that you want to hug each other. But at the foundation, you got to look at, I always say, what is the foundation of a relationship? Do you love the person you're in a relationship with? It's not a bumper sticker or T-shirt for me.
Yeah.
I love New York. Listen, I wore a bulletproof vest for 22 years.
Yeah.
And I stood on street corners. I cried with family members who lost loved ones. I sat in hospitals when I was off duty after an incident that happened. I knocked on doors. I sat in living rooms. This is a city that I love. And so no matter the ups and downs, no matter when I walk by people and they say, I hate you, Eric Adams, or people say, oh, I love you, my mom love you, take a picture. No matter those emotions, I love this city. Yeah. And we've come too far to go back. We can't go back.
I think, I'm not your couples therapist, but let me play one for a second. I think there's some trust issues right now with you and New Yorkers.
Right.
And I want to let you address, you brought up the indictment.
Right.
So I want to address that elephant in the room. Because a lot of rooms you go into, this comes up. I bring up, I'm interviewing Eric Adams. They say, ask him about Turkish Airlines. Let's talk about what happened with the federal corruption charges.
Right.
So talk about that.
Think about this for a moment. Many people didn't read the indictment. They heard the story, but they never read the indictment.
Indictments are not fun to read.
Right.
Yes.
So they really don't know the story. There are two aspects of the indictment.
But they read the emails, right? Like there was a lot of coverage of the correspondence.
Yeah, but
stuff like that.
Look at the correspondence. The correspondence should have vindicated me. So there were two aspects of it, and I couldn't talk about it. I was so pissed that I couldn't talk about it while it was in the court because my attorney said, Eric, shut up.
Alex Spiro said.
Yes, shut up, Eric. There were two aspects of this indictment. One of the aspects of it was that I called the fire department commissioner and said, can you go do a building inspection because the president is coming here and y'all got all of this darn bureaucracy that everybody complained on. I ran on the lack of having these building inspections. And I said to him, if you can't do it, let me know. And I'll manage their expectation.
This is the Turkish consulate building in New
York.
Exactly,
the Turkish consulate building.
President Erdogan's visit.
And so what they said that, well, you have flown on Turkish Airlines for years, paid, and when you flew, you asked for upgrades. When you go on official travel, it's all right for you to get those upgrades. But when you went on your personal travel, you should have got those upgrades. And so we feel as though you were being bribed because one day you were going to call the fire commissioner, and so you were bribed for that. So we're going to charge you with bribery. Made no sense. Even legal experts that read it said, "Wait a minute, this is the sitting mayor of New York, and you indicted him on that." Now, what was the second aspect? We did hundreds of fundraisers, hundreds. A lot of volunteers. A lot of volunteers come out. Anyone that knows this, they know about this whole straw donors, what have you. It appears as though that a volunteer, not a staffer, not an employee, did something improper, and it appears as though to save her own rear, as they do all the time, I'm a former law enforcement officer, hey, if you tell something on him, we will let you go free. They never charged her. She was never charged. When the emails that you talked about showed she did something wrong. There was no email showing that I did anything wrong.
Right. The emails, there was correspondence about, how much is their tickets going to be? It's going to be $500. There's some negotiation on that stuff. I mean, I think people read this. I want to get to the current situation because there was a question of was there quid pro quo on the Turkey question?
Right.
And now the question is, was there quid pro question mark with the dismissal of the case against you?
So let's
talk about that because
let's peel that part back and let's be honest about it. Let's be honest on people say, okay, was it a quid pro quo? How much of that do you really believe had to do it was because it was Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, I don't speak for all New Yorkers. I will say this. I think that you were tough on immigration before, and I think part of I do recognize that you have been
not tough on immigration.
I should say you were sounding the alarm on the migrant crisis in 2023.
And I was tough on those who committed crimes.
Exactly. Yeah, you were.
I support immigration.
Yes, so we are going to get to that. But here, I want to quote. So Reverend Al Sharpton, friend of yours.
Yes. Yep.
Ally of yours. He was quoted saying that he thinks the Trump people have compromised you and that you've put the city where we're hostage. This is a quote from earlier this year. I mean, New Yorkers.
When did he say that? Because there's more to that comment that he made. He was saying, don't put Eric in this position. His indictment should be dismissed with prejudice. It could never come back, and people cannot say, well, they're holding this over the mayor's head.
The Trump administration, when they dropped the charges, they wanted to drop it without prejudice.
Right.
Meaning they could have brought those charges again.
Right.
And the district court judge said, we're not going to do that. We're going to drop it with prejudice because otherwise it would create the appearance that you owe the president
without a doubt. But remember, even when they did this was
there was space between that. It was February to April.
But this is going to be one of the most important chapters in my book because
do you have a book deal?
Because the majority of times, overwhelming majority of the times, when cases are dismissed on the federal level, they're dismissed without prejudice.
Yeah.
This wasn't unique to Eric. So it wasn't like, okay, we're going to do this to hold it over Eric's head. No, it's dismissed without prejudice. So they always want to have the option, if something else comes up, that they can bring it up. But they made it unique for me. No one wanted to look at, that's how they always do it.
Let me ask you straight. Do you feel that you owe Donald Trump something?
No.
A thank you card?
No, a thank you. A thank you. And let me tell you why I say a thank you. Those two incidents that I stated that the indictment was based on, I'm the sitting mayor of New York, and that's what you're going to indict the sitting mayor of New York. Mind you, the prosecutor who indicted me, soon as he left office, he put up a website that looked like a campaign page, like he was running for office. So we're going to put a pin into that. But I didn't know Donald Trump. I lived in the city, but we never met. We never spoke. First time I met Donald Trump was at the Alfred E. Smith dinner.
So fall last year.
Yes. While he was on the campaign trail, he was saying, look at what they're doing to that mayor in New York. It's wrong. I was saying this over and over again. So here you have a person that's acknowledging what they're doing to you is wrong. I was facing 33 years in prison. 33 years in prison.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars in legal fees. So if you were in my shoes and someone was saying that you knew you didn't do anything wrong and someone is saying this is wrong what they're doing to her, you wouldn't say thank you?
Yeah. You found an ally in Donald Trump.
Not only did I find an ally in Donald Trump, President Trump, I found it in President Biden. President Biden said the Justice Department under him was politicized. He pardoned his son.
Yeah, he made remarks that were implied the
Exactly.
politicization of his.
President Trump said the Justice Department was politicized.
Yeah.
I said it.
I remember that New York Times headline you held up at a press conference.
And you know who else said it? Brian Benjamin, highest ranking African American in the state of New York as lieutenant governor. They indicted him for receiving campaign contribution from someone associated to a nonprofit. The judge dismissed the case before it went to trial.
So talk about here and now, because New Yorkers feel, the worry would be, okay, the mayor is getting pressure and there's federal demands that are going to overwhelm New Yorkers' needs. So are you actually getting pressure? We know Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's on the MTA complaining about the MTA.
Right.
Doesn't like our congestion pricing in New York City. Donald Trump doesn't seem to like it either. There's the ice of it all. Are you how many calls are you getting pressuring you to do something? And does your gratitude to Donald Trump, to President Trump, extend to helping him on these calls when you get them?
So let's peel this back for a moment.
Yeah.
This is important.
Yeah.
That's why I like these long-form conversations.
Yeah.
Do you know that when the federal government does something that a city believes is inappropriate, unfair, you go to court and you sue? Do you know I have taken this administration to court more than any mayor in the country?
The Trump administration?
Yes. More than any mayor in the country.
What are you taking him to court over? Can you rattle off a few
Yes,
things?
we took him to court when they went inside and took the young student that was following the process. We took them to court when they clawed back $80 million from our FEMA money. We took them to court for that. We took them to court when they took finances out of some of the health benefits. So there's a whole list you can see. Now, you'll never read that. That doesn't fit into the narrative because the narrative is Eric is under his thumb. Then what are the other mayors in the other cities? What thumb are they under? If they're not going to court like me. That doesn't fit into the narrative of Eric is under the thumb. But at the same time, when I needed the president for the city, they were getting ready to put a stop work order on a multi-billion-dollar project we had in Sunset Park. It was a wind farm. 500,000 homes were going to receive electricity, 1,500 jobs. They would put a stop work order. I flew to Washington. I said, Mr. President, this is a union job. Can you please take another look at it? He lifted the stop work order and allowed the project to go, and those union jobs are going to happen, and we're doing an environmental important thing right now. But no one wants to look at that. They don't want to look at when I go to Washington and fight on behalf of the city. The governor goes to Washington to fight on behalf of the city. Others go. I'm the mayor of the largest city in America. I went to Washington 10 times under President Biden. I met with him twice.
So in New York, I know you have taken, well before this administration, you called out the migrant crisis.
Exactly.
A lot of money. You see it as a crisis for our streets, for crime, et cetera.
Yes.
New York is, of course, a sanctuary city.
Yes.
Will you go to Washington to fight on immigration if you disagree? Or are you and Donald Trump actually aligned on how you see immigration as it comes to public safety?
He has his beliefs on immigration. I have mine.
Yeah.
He doesn't support the concept of sanctuary cities. And that's not a law, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a status.
Yes.
He doesn't support that. And I've made it clear of my support of sanctuary city and what it means. Because if someone from any country come to New York and they walk in the store and buy a loaf of bread, they're paying those taxes. No one is saying, let me see your documentation so you don't have to pay taxes.
Right.
So if you pay taxes, those taxes go to the delivery of goods and services. So you have a right to send your children to school. You have a right to get health care, medical care when you need it. You have a right to call the police if you're a victim of a crime. I support that. I believe that. Because if children are in school, they can be victims of crime. If people wait and overcrowd our emergency rooms, that's the problem.
So you're going to hold that line firm on the sanctuaries. But
without a doubt.
And when it comes to ICE going to Rikers, ICE going on to campuses to get students, how do you fall?
If they're not breaking the law, we don't coordinate with ICE on civil deportation. We don't, period. Never have, never will. That's what the law is. But if you are a dangerous gang in this city, like the Venezuelan gang we took down, Trinidad Araga and others, what people are missing, Those dangerous gangs were preying on migrants and undocumented people. They were forcing women into prostitution. Everyone is wrapping their arms around these groups without realizing they're preying on immigrants. And so when people say, well, I shouldn't be on Rikers with other agents to go after these guys, I disagree with that.
Okay. Let's talk about crime for a second before we do. Do you think Donald Trump will endorse you? Because he said very flattering things about you, but he's also said it's good that Andrew Cuomo is in this race. He thinks he has a shot. Do you have a sense of how that shakes out?
No, but it's interesting. When he said Andrew had a shot, no one had an issue with it. But when he said something nice about me, it led just about every headline. We got to show the inconsistency. No one wants to acknowledge the inconsistency. So when he said something nice about Cuomo, it was okay. But when he said something nice about me, it was a problem. We have to be honest about the inconsistency. One does not have to like me, but come on, we're intelligent enough to say, wait a minute, something's not right here. Why are we upset when he says something about Eric Adams, but we're not upset when he says something about Andrew Cuomo? That doesn't make you say,
Do you think that actually, though, an endorsement from Donald Trump would be good for any candidate, or would it be an ad for Mamdani?
Listen,
in New York City.
My desire are working class New Yorkers, and all this other stuff is just noise and distractions. They want to pull you into. I feel like Al Pacino in The Godfather. Every time I get out, they want to pull me back in.
Oh my God! Which Godfather? 1, 2, 3, all of them.
I think that was the last one. I love that docuseries.
Yeah.
You know, if you allow this, when I ran for campaign for 2021, they would come up with all of these real questions. I say, stay focused, no distractions, and grind. All this stuff that is to pull you off your game. I'm talking about working class people. I'm talking about how am I going to make sure they can remain in the city that I love and they love. All that other stuff.
You're trying to save your marriage, to use the analogy. We'll be right back to talk about crime and more. And just remember, this conversation was taped before the tragic shooting in Midtown Manhattan. Guys, today's sponsored Dumb Question is from me. I'm going to take the next minute to tell you a little bit about Smart Girl Dumb Questions and to ask you for your help in continuing to make independent, fact-based, and curious journalism. No, I'm not going to ask you for money. Here's what I need. I would love you to tell 10 of your friends about the show, or 100. I don't know, blast that reunion group that you muted, and definitely tell your mom, and tell your mom to tell her friends too. Even if you don't like the show and you're just like hate watching it or listening to it, tell 10 of your friends to hate watch it too. Numbers are numbers, people. Let's talk about crime. I really want to talk about crime. This is an important issue for me as a woman who loves walking home from places at 1 a.m. in New York City. You campaigned on public safety.
Yes.
Violent crime is down in your administration. But the city, the vibes are not with you. The vibes feel unsafe.
Right.
I mean, and, some months ago, I saw a woman hit on the street. A friend of mine, Canal Street Station, somebody threw a cup of urine on her at 5:30, 6 p.m. on a Thursday night. And then, much more serious to this, we have people lit on fire, or a woman lit on fire on the subway. We have shootings on the subway. What do you think is happening here?
Three things. One, severe mental health issues. Throwing urine in someone's face, pushing someone to the subway, those actions, people are dealing with severe mental health issues. We removed over 8,000 people off our subway system that should not be on the subway system because of that. Got a lot of pushback. We want involuntary removal where we can compel people to go in for service and stay longer so they can get the help that they need. I can't tell you how many times we have fought with City Council, we have fought with Albany, getting a lot of pushback to deal with this severe mental health issue, particularly since the psychiatric beds were closed by Cuomo. That's number one.
Okay.
Severe mental health issue.
Mental health.
Yes. Number two, random acts of violence. Nothing strikes us to the core more than random acts of violence. You're walking down the block, someone punches you for no reason at all, someone slash you. Those random acts just cut to the core.
Yeah.
And often, they are people with severe mental health issues that are causing those acts. Number three, revolving door. I cannot tell you the revolving door of criminal justice.
Oh, because this is bail reform issue that we can't.
Andrew, state lawmakers pass these bail reform bills. And they did other things that
Yeah.
that the public is not aware of, such as discovery law. But these revolving doors, go look at who's committing these crimes. They got records of 7, 8, 9 times,
Yeah.
and they're back on our streets.
I had a situation where I was grabbed by somebody on the street, and I told a police officer. He said, "Look, and I saw the guy was just there afterwards, and he said, I'm going to take him, and he's going to be right back out here 2 days later with a grudge against you."
Yeah, that should not have happened. That wasn't appropriate by that police officer.
Yeah.
It's not his job to say what failed criminal justice legislative policies may be. That's not his job.
Yeah.
His job is to do his job. He should have grabbed that person and brought him in. And if he comes back the next day, that's not up to him to decide.
Right.
He needs to do his job. And so, but he's right in his assessment that we have 542, I think, people who are arrested for shoplifting that were arrested 7,600 times.
Oh, wow.
We're having people who are arrested for grand larceny, arrested 50, 60 times.
Yeah.
Of those 2 guys that shot the Custom Border Patrol officer, they had long arrest sheets from stabbings, for robberies, for kidnapping.
Can you, these 3 things, mental health, the revolving door, and the random acts of violence, what can you fix by the months you have left guaranteed in office, and what could you fix in?
Well, we're already on the road to do so. And then when you add those 3 items with a fixation, if it bleeds, it leads. If you're reading about madness on our subway system and you go downstairs and you hear somebody yelling and screaming, you're going to say, oh my God, I'm not safe, I'm not safe.
Yeah, it's Gotham.
Right, but think about this. We have 4.6 million daily riders. We have 5 felonies a day on our system. 5. We want to get rid of all 5, but look at what those police officers are doing.
How many misdemeanors do we have?
I don't know the exact total, but the serious crimes, someone pushes someone, that's a misdemeanor. Someone spitting on someone, that's a misdemeanor.
Right.
You could have misdemeanors, but those serious crimes with 4.6 million daily, I don't want to go to work riders.
Okay.
And so looking at those 3 things that you're talking about, we won some victories in Albany around severe mental health. We didn't get what we wanted, but it's going to take us closer. So we're taking more and more people off our system that are dealing with severe mental health.
Okay.
We are really going after the random acts of violence. Commissioner Tisch put something in place called the Q teams, 1,500 officers that are focused on quality of life. Open drugs use on our streets, abandoned vehicles, the wild scooter rides, things like that.
You obviously came up as a cop. You did this video that I love from 2011.
Searching the room?
Searching the kid's room.
Something simple as a baby doll. Could be just a baby doll, but also it could be a place where you could secrete or hide drugs. I felt something bumpy. I would reach in, see what it is.
I got to ask you, in your 20 plus years of working at the NYPD, right? Is that correct? 20 plus years? 22 years. Did you ever find a gun in a throw pillow?
No, but I heard about guns being in throw pillows.
Do you ever find drugs in a baby doll?
No, so it was an accumulation of all the stories that I heard.
Really?
It was accumulation of, people coming in, saying, holding the baby doll, throwing it on the desk, where I was the sergeant or lieutenant. I said, what's this? They said, inside, we found crack cocaine. Or coming in with an automatic weapon, and if they're voucher the pillow that it was found in. So all of those things that I show are stories that I heard.
Okay.
And now, you have some communities that say, oh, you're violating the child's right. You shouldn't be doing that. Listen, inside your house, my mother used to tell me, boy, you don't have no rights in my house. You don't have rights when you get in your house.
Okay.
And people don't realize you find a gun in someone's house, you find drugs in someone's house, the whole house is going. The kids are going to child protective custody. Mom and dad are going in. Grandma is going in. So you rather police your own home than allow the police to come in and do it.
Okay. That was the main part of policy I wanted to focus on. Crime, I want to do 2 lightning rounds and let you out of here, okay, sir?
I like lightning rounds.
Okay. All right. So the first, I'm going to do a policy lightning round.
Okay.
Okay. I know there's a lot to say. You've spoken about what you've done. But let's start with housing and affordability.
Yes.
Dumbest thing that we do in housing policy right now.
Takes too long. When you have a person in a low-income house, put them in the apartment, takes too long. Sometimes it could take up to a year. when you could have an immediate turnaround when it's non-affordable units. Takes too long.
Okay, takes too long. Healthcare, you relieve medical debt for thousands of New Yorkers. Are you planning to do more of that?
Yes. And what we have done, revolutionary, everyone told me we couldn't do it. We are connecting with what we eat, with what our diet. Everyone knows my diabetes journey, changed my diet, was able to reverse my diabetes.
You're
it's
vegan?
Yes, it's not plant-based, I like to call it.
Plant-based, okay.
When it's not your DNA, it's your dinner. We're now having plant-based food as a default menu in all of our hospitals, and it has been a success. And so we want to do that more. We want to be proactive in health, not reactive.
Got it. Okay. I want to talk about Israel and Palestine. Hard
Yes.
to do in a lightning round.
Yes.
But there's a lot of talk about Israel in this mayoral race. What role does the mayor actually have when it comes to the Middle East, to Israel and Palestine, and the communities who support each of those?
Again, probably the only mayor that has visited Palestine.
Okay.
Visited Palestine and Israel. And I think that what plays out on the international stage, it plays out on our streets in New York. What we must do is make sure we bring people together, like what I do with my Breaking Bread, Building Bonds. We did 19,000 dinners, 10 people at the table from different walks of life, ethnicities, and they're doing something revolutionary. They're talking to each other. I don't think that we have to hate each other. We have to coexist in the city, and I've done it over and over again.
From my point of view, it's like two things. It's hate crimes, but anti-Semitism, the Islamophobia, policing those, making sure that that doesn't happen. And the second is protests.
Yes.
Protecting the rights of protesters on, and free speech for all New Yorkers. I taught a class at Columbia last term. Columbia students still feel the after effects, the shock of having NYPD on their campus, I think. I'm not speaking for Columbia students. This is what I've heard from some students. Were the cops there because you wanted them there or because donors wanted them there?
Here's why they were there. We cannot go on a college campus as the police unless we are invited. I would have gone on day one because you should not disrupt those who want to go to school for their education. I saw some of the videos, spitting at the Jewish students, harassing them, surrounding them. I saw those videos. I wouldn't want Jordan to go on a college campus.
This is your son.
And my son Jordan, to go on a college campus and people are calling him the N-word, surrounding him, threatening him, and him coming home and say, Dad, you are paying $80,000 a year and I cannot sit in my school? No. If you want to protest peacefully. You don't target students based on their ethnicity. I wouldn't want it to be done to a Black student. I saw what happened to the Asian students during COVID. It was wrong then, and it was wrong for it to happen to the Jewish students. We went on because we were invited on when they broke into Hamilton Hall, and it got out of control.
Do you feel like there's some Islamophobia around Mamdani's race right now?
Yes, there are people who are saying very hurtful and harmful things. Listen, there are people in New York who have hate in their heart. We can't lie about that. But look where I have been on this subject. When a young woman was attacked for wearing a hijab years ago, I went out and visited her and took the bus into Staten Island to say this can't happen. When someone put out a flyer saying Kill a Muslim Day, I walked the street with my Muslim brothers and sisters and said this cannot happen in our city. And during 9/11, I was a police officer at the time. On Coney Island Avenue during 9/11, there were major sweeps in that community that young men were picked up. I went to 3rd Avenue and 30-something Street where the federal penitentiary is located and called for their release. I said, this is wrong what we're doing to these young men. So there's a history that just as I stood with Jewish brothers and sisters, Sikh community when they attack, AAPI community, there's a history of me saying hate has no place in New York.
Hard pivot, congestion pricing. Sean Duffy doesn't like it. Governor Hochul says she's going to keep it. Where does Mayor Adams stand?
I think we could have done it differently. I would love to have witnessed some more waivers for New Yorkers, but I don't control that. Many people don't realize that's controlled by the MTA and the governor's office.
Right.
I wish the mayor and the city council would have mapped out that plan because these are our streets. But we're creatures of Albany. Albany is the big brother, and we have to listen what Albany states.
Okay, but you, it sounds like you like congestion pricing with some tweaks.
Yes.
Okay, is that fair? Okay, bikes. New York City cyclists are apparently getting 10 times more criminal summons in recent weeks. This is just reported by Gothamist. Are they dangerous? I kind of think an e-bike is going to kill me. Like an e-bike with some Chinese food. It's going to kill me.
That's funny.
It's last scene of my life.
Listen, what happened after COVID,
Yeah.
the use of our streets have changed. We did not have all the mopeds, the delivery foods,
Yeah.
the bikes. It has changed. Now we have to modify our streets to fit this new norm because it's going nowhere and we need to do it right. Now, we removed over 100,000 illegal mopeds, dirt bikes, of cars.
I know you rode them over in that social
That's
media
right.
video. Why didn't you donate them to
Because we don't want
somewhere
them on
else?
streets. They're dangerous.
some other faraway place? No one wanted
batteries are
them.
dangerous. We don't want them,
Okay.
the explosion from the bootleg batteries.
Okay.
And so we wanted to make sure that they could never terrorize New Yorkers again.
Oof. Okay. Cannabis. You say the city can be the cannabis capital of the world. You've closed down how many illegal
1,400.
cannabis? Is this like being the bouncer at your own block party?
No, not at all. When it comes down to cannabis, there are two areas that give me
Yeah.
a great deal of concern. I talked about it at the debate when I was running in 2021. One, illegal shops. We don't know what's in the cannabis, spike with things. I'm concerned about what's being sold. That's number one. Number two, our children are high all the time. The science is clear. Early use of cannabis, teachers have tell me all the time, they say, Eric, these children are coming into school smelling like cannabis. They are high all the time, and they're self-medicating themselves. I'm really concerned about that. It impacts brain development. The science is clear. We need to have a real dividing line between sending a message out that cannabis is okay without the health problems that comes with it.
Very quickly on schools, New York City's public schools as of this week are going to follow the cell phone ban in New York State, which is a new thing. You've also implemented meditation in schools, something that you do yourself.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
We often judge our children by how academically smart they are. We need to have indicators of their emotional intelligence and how they manage crises and manage stress. I think this generation, because of the influx and the incoming from social media and others, we're seeing increase in suicidal ideations. We're seeing suicide cases, depression, how girls feel about themselves. We have to really start giving our children the tools they need to go inward and survive. I'm a breather. I do Wim Hof breathing. Yes, Wim Hof, WIMHOF. He has a whole breathing routine. As you know, I do also transcendental meditation.
Yes, the mayor and I were both at the Transcendental Meditation Gala in 2022. Yeah.
And we need self-healing. People are hurting, and hurt people.
Okay. Does meditation make the sirens go away?
What I'm finding, I was a big meditator until I transitioned into breathing.
Now you're breathing.
Yes, I enjoy breathing so much.
Does breathing make the headlines go away?
Yes, they do.
Got to breathe more. Okay, dating. New York is known as the worst place for women to date in the country. That's what they say. That's what they say.
Who said that?
People report it's a numbers issue. Apparently, it's a Peter Pan issue. Actually, you never got married. You know this story. So, come on. Do you have a policy to fix that?
Yes, go out more. Nightlife. That's why I'm the nightlife mayor. New York is one of the top places. And the beauty of New York is the diversity of who you can choose.
Okay.
I see interracial couples, mixed marriages. No one is living within these barriers anymore. No, New York is, if you can't find a boo in New York, then it's you.
That's not going to help you get some voters in this situation. That's funny. I think that's fair. The problem is you get so many boos, you got to choose one. That's the New York dating problem, actually. Okay, a different kind of rat. The war on rats. This is where I want to end this one, Aaron. How is the war on rats going? You said...
Good. Decreasing rat complaints in rat mitigation areas.
Okay, I got to ask you a story I heard from it was somebody gave me a tip. I could never run this out, but apparently... Decades ago, New York City had this rat birth control plan. Have you heard this story?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was told, and I do not know if this is true, but I was told that they wanted to use rat birth control. They had used it successfully in India. In Bombay and Mumbai, they had given curry-flavored birth controls. Right. In Italy, they had given tomato and garlic-flavored birth control to the rats.
Right.
But this person told me that in New York City, the rats were too picky. They could not find a flavor that would get all the rats. Is this true, or is this just...
That's probably an urban myth, urban legend. I know we're trying. We're exploring different things. The rat czar has been unbelievable.
This is Kathleen Karate.
Yes, yes. She has been unbelievable. And, she has performed beyond our expectation. She has rat schools to tell people what they need to do. I hate rats.
I do too. By the way, I feel there are fewer of them, but there's still a lot. They gotta go.
And those guys have been around a long time. They're smart. You try to trick them. I had a rat in my backyard one day, and I put out a trap, and he put something in his mouth and dropped the rock on the trap. And when it went off, he ate the food. And I swore that I can't contest it, but I swore he gave me the middle finger.
You got to get these rats to respect you, Mayor. Once you get them, are you going for the squirrels or the pigeons? What's next?
Love squirrels, love pigeons.
Okay, great. Last lightning round. These are 5 quick questions. Favorite vegan slice?
Pizza with vegan cheese.
Favorite slice of pizza in New York City?
There's a place in Williamsburg, I forgot the name of it. They do a great vegan pizza, but I make my own. I do a cauliflower crust pizza with vegan cheese, some tomatoes, some seasoning, and avocado, and it's the bomb diggity.
Avocado on your pizza?
Yes,
That's wild. I've never heard of that.
Yes,
That's okay. Favorite curry in the city?
Curry?
Yeah, you got a curry spot?
Oh, yeah, there's a couple of them. I go up to Uptown Veg. They have a nice little curry, mixed vegetables that I love.
You love. Okay. Favorite dim sum? You got a dim sum spot?
Not really. I'll bounce around.
You bounce around. Favorite members club? Zero Bond, Casa Chair?
Everybody says zero. I get in trouble if I say which one. So I'm just saying all of them. They're all popping up now.
There's so many coming.
Yeah.
Chez Margot. I saw you at Chez Margot the other day. I got to start saying hi to you when I see you at these places.
You got to do that.
Okay. I know you don't like free grocery stores, but how do you feel about free nightclubs?
If they let folks in friends. We lost our nightclub industry. Remember, this was a city that never sleep. We used to go to the Paradise Garage, the Warehouse, so many great clubs. People like to go out and dance, but they're coming back.
Okay.
They're coming back.
Back.
To be able to hang out with your friends, celebrate an event, and just dance off all that stress, that's a great experience in New York.
Okay. Free entry for dance clubs.
You know what?
So that we can meet our booze. That's the policy that you need. Okay. Gotta ask, favorite airline?
Gotta be, it's a combination. I love Turkey. I always say that, Turkish Airlines. I love their service. But I'm a Delta guy as well. I love Delta.
Delta. All right. Okay. Thank you for being a good sport. I end every interview asking my guest a dumb question they have, something that they have been like, they haven't wanted to ask out loud, or maybe it's just they can't figure it out. Maybe it's if that rat gave you the middle finger. But do you have such a question that you have that we could find out? Like Mark Cuban asked, why do people chew with their mouth open? Neil deGrasse Tyson was like, how do you get the cranes up there at the top of the building? Anything that plagues you?
Oh, man, that's a hard one, because anything that I'm curious about, I go and explore.
Yeah.
I am an explorer.
You go to dinner with Zohran Mamdani and his dad to find out.
That's right, so that's a tough one. I'm like still in my Y years, so I go explore wherever curiosity I may have.
All right. Thank you so much, Mayor Adams.
A lot of fun.
I really appreciate it. This was fun.
All right, I'm going to wait to debrief these conversations till we've had more of them, but I want to know what you think. So drop me a note at nayeemaraza101@gmail.com. Also, to the mayor's point, he did actually have a question that he asked out loud when he came into the room, and I think it's a question a lot of people have. I'll give it to you before the credits.
Stella, my producer.
I always hear the term producers. What exactly do they do?
What do you do?
Everything, I guess.
You coordinate everything?
Yeah.
They produce the product, the outcome. That's what they do, really. I came up as a producer.
Love it.
Speaking of producers, this episode was produced with Dana Balut, Healy Cruz, Andrea Lopez Cruzado, and of course, Noah Friedman, who you just heard. Noah actually hosts an awesome show called No Such Thing, and you should totally check it out wherever you get your podcasts. That's it for this week on Smart Girl Dumb Questions. See you next time.